Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise City this morning. I'm Chamberlain. So,
quick reminder, today is January 28th. Yeah, I know you're counting down to salary. I'm Ayo Makinde. Welcome to the show.
Well. What do we know? Well, have you seen that image circulating? No, I mean the one that has been denied that he's a member of the ruling APC. The terrorist, one that never sees, I tell you. But yeah, eventually there's this statement that came through from the APC the APC themselves, who did say this is a fake slip and it bears no connection to their party's membership register. They talked about non-existent Ward 13 of Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara State, which has only 10 wards, and it went on and on. But guys, as much as this is neither here nor there, but what part of the concern too is, remember it was just a few days ago when the army came up with the second statement about the coup. After the first one was published, when the media had actually said there was a coup. And they said, we didn't use that word, no such thing. And now they've come up to say there is. And then again on a security-related matter, when in Kaduna State, the Commissioner of Police, everybody saw the statement, and one of the commissioners did also say that purported kidnap didn't happen. And then much later, the police statement says, no, it was just to ensure that they, tried to hold on while they try to clarify certain things. And then, Ayo, or your state, the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, when she also said that video was what? Deep fake. I tell you, this year will be a lot of build-up to several activities, particularly for elections, campaign, electioneering processes. I think this will be a tip of the iceberg. All of this, yes, I think they will just be like the precursor to what we may just expect, because there will likely be a lot of other quote-unquote denials of fake, deep fake, AI, because some people will fall for it. If they see that whatever they might have put out there didn't fly, the public feel very strongly and angry about all of those things, they will tell, no, it's fake, it's deep fake. Even, don't be surprised at some point, even me sitting here, they go, hey, this is the AI talking to me. But I wonder what the authorities are doing about all of this. What do we do? Either security agencies themselves or the regulatory authorities, to see how they can spot, just be on the lookout for any of these things. And I think most times they're used to just responding days after, when, the rubber has hit the road. Then they'll come forward much later, as if everybody is sleeping and waiting for them to wake up and then come and respond hours later. The world has changed. You have to be on your feet, speaking about some of these things, addressing them. If you take Nigerians seriously, maybe that's how you'll act. But if you think, nah, no big deal, and maybe because these things happen, after all, if I rig elections and win, I will rely on my rigging machinery and not take the people seriously. So who knows? Look, let me just hang on a bit, Ayo. What are you thinking about now?
Well, when the GSM revolution started, a good number of people, every technology cycle, Chamberlain, we always have that iffy, pussyfooty approach to it. First of all, is this real? Is it going to start? Is it going to stand? And all of those things. Already, AI is already here. There is no way we can push back against it. There is also information out there, by the way, that AI is a precursor to something bigger. AI is not really where we're going. AI is a precursor to something bigger. AI is like something that's going to power something bigger, something stronger. We had the Industrial Revolution. Are we still in the Industrial Revolution? No. The Industrial Revolution gave birth to something. One thing is sure, this is the knowledge age. And knowledge is going to evolve in various ways. There was a time we were sharing text messages, and then there was the days of BBM pinging, and now we have WhatsApp, and you can have like 3 to 10 messaging platforms on one device, and that's beside your email address and your socials. So this is just to let us know it's just the beginning of days. We haven't even seen anything. That's just one. And then to the critical issues that you talked about, I'm glad, you know, that on our sister program, Morning Brief, we were talking about security and AI and how it can be used positively and progressively. What is important here is to know, you know, Chamberlain, yesterday, you know, at our annual general meeting here at Channels Television, we had a session where someone was saying, how do you identify an AI-generated video or image as opposed to a real human, real picture, image, or whatever of things? And we have been taught, we have learned, and we will be able to sift between the cracks and know which one is which. Now, for those who don't know, it'll be easier to get them to do all kinds of things. The image, you know, we showed this morning, for instance, Chamberlain. Yeah. That now depends on the party to prove that it is not true. The truth is, there is going to be a lot of information that's going to be put out with the expectation that some people, there's going to be a rebuttal. There's going to be some people, I don't know the name to call them now, who will put out some things with the intention to get some reaction. But unfortunately, it is always the first that gets to get to the market that gets all the privilege, all the attention. So by the time you are rebutting, it's likely that you are seen as a liar, especially in a generation where we have very, very low trust quotients, a low trust threshold for our government at the federal and state level. So it's the government themselves and whoever is in authority that must now get ahead of the information and not wait to catch up all the time, Chamberlain.
Poor in all of this, and that's why these fake strategies, all of this, seem to be getting a foothold.
Yeah.
Because the authorities just deny things blatantly, and then you come up much later and say, well, it's this. You don't even have the decency to own up to the people, well, we made a mistake here, but this is the real situation here. They don't even have that. They take the people for a fool. Times have changed. It's 21st century, it's 2026.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of technology, things have changed. But these guys keep thinking, oh no, we can lodge it over. No, you cannot. You can't keep doing things like you've done it always. No, just be forthright with the people. That way,
that's it.
You can get some trust.
That's it.
If you, something that is as black and white, you deny tomorrow, then the next day, okay, well, actually. Then if I see something, I'll tell you, they'll come and tell me this is not real again. Meanwhile, so they don't know where to stand. So those countries that talk to the media, talk to the people every time, they're not foolish for doing it. There's a method to the madness. And if they think that, oh, no, we can do anything the way we want, good luck to all of them. But one thing that is not AI or deepfake is the great collapse. We'll talk about that when we come back in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Now, Nigeria's power sector is once again in the spotlights because another collapse of the national grid has deepened concerns over electricity reliability, even as power distribution companies reject the federal government's plan to deploy free smart meters, citing operational and financial constraints. Now, what does this mean for consumers, for you and I, who are already grappling with unstable supply and estimated billing? Well, joining us to discuss these issues and probably proffer solutions to this, Mr. Kingsley Aldo is a former special advisor to the Minister of Power and the Group Managing Director and CEO of Plantrix Energy Group. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome back.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Good to be back, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Pleasure.
So, another great collapse. Very sad commentary, whichever way we look at it. Somebody had to remind me. Remember, isn't it about 18 times that the grid has collapsed in 3 years?
Yes.
And they thought, you know, when you hear that once, twice, thrice, but 18, it sounds like not even a very good movie script, a bad movie script. But in this case, it is our reality. So what really is going on with this? Is it that I can't even explain this. I can't even process it mentally. Why is this happening?
Thank you, Chamberlain. It's it's saddening for all of us, you know. But the reality is reality. Now, let me tell you a few things that we will need to face as a nation is, one, both TCN and, of course, NISO, they must put their acts together to make sure a few things happen. Now, we are aware that the grid is old. That is established. Some of these lines are 45 years old, some 30. The expectation is that there would have been continuous upgrades, revamp, you know, section by section. But that, again, maybe it's happening, it's not happening as fast as it should, right? So that is one big issue that needs to be dealt with. The second big issue is there's what you call relay coordination. Again, why does the grid collapse? So first, there's a trip in Lagos, and that trip redirects or reroutes load to some other area, and then there's a spike in frequency, whatever it is, and then everything just keeps going like a pack of cards. So there's a trip, and that trip leads to a collapse, and then that collapses, and all, it just keeps going. So that is the first challenge, that we need to be able to nip those trips in the board when they happen in isolated locations before it becomes nationwide. Now, there's what you call relay coordination at each of those levels, meaning that you can ring fence it, and so the relay for each of those points in the TSs, transmission stations, are able to read and then isolate, but no. So, and I don't think that TCN and all of those who are concerned have been able to, over time, even look at all the relay systems and see that they have, they are up to speed, you know, by way of new inputs, technology, whatever, changing all of those relays. So I'm sure that as old as the lines are, so maybe the relay systems are. So with that, we're going to always have a systems collapse. Thirdly, we know of these repeated gas constraint issues and all of that. I mean, it's there. It's staring us in the face.
TCN and discos TCN can't get gas.
So Chamberlain, the challenge I have is that we're a gas-producing nation, technically. And I expect that government should be able to say, for every gas that comes out, 20% or so must stay in country.
See, I'm trying to jump in. When you say for every gas that comes up, I understand that the gas that we even have is what they call associated gas.
Yes.
It's not even that we're deliberately going and say, okay, yeah, this is why we're going to get the gas out. It's capped. Associated gas because they're drilling for oil, and then you see gas on the way and then just use it.
So let me say this, right? Typically, if you're drilling for oil, your equipment and all the tools and all that you bring to bear for that process will be targeted at oil. Gas will be a byproduct. If you're drilling for gas, all the things, equipment that you bring will be gas targeted, and then oil will typically be a byproduct, right? So the concept we've had over time is in a gas field or in an oil field, they're going to always be associated gas. And we're a gas nation, actually. We have more gas than crude. So the expectation is that we must, knowing that gas drives the energy sector, especially the power, gas-fired plants all over, which is 80% of our power sources anyway, that there will be concerted effort by government to say, look, we must focus on gas to power and enable enough gas to drive our engines locally. And that is not happening. And so you are going to have, you're treading on a very sensitive pathway that can collapse anytime. A little tilt that there is less gas coming to the system will make the system wobble. And then as the system is wobbling, not enough because load is being pulled, there will be a collapse. You know, and so to cap this, Chamberlain, is that we've not been able to implement our SCADA systems, right, which is going to make that grid a sensitive grid and a smart grid to just in time to read if there is an anticipated collapse. The system itself will recalibrate. Now, to add to this, the GENCOs are supposed to have installed what you call governance control for each of the GENCOs. So what governance control does is that it reads the frequency range at every point in time, that if it shoots above 50, it's able to either shut down engines, and if it's or bring up engines, I beg your pardon, then if it goes below, it's able to. So these things they're tightropes, but it needs checking. And if humans are the ones checking, that's how it is today.
So that's part of where lots of people think that the government is not being sincere with the people. For instance, last government told us they were going to get 40,000 megawatts of electricity to this country first 4 years, as it were. We know that didn't happen, not even a chance. This government has told us now that they will get 15,000 megawatts before, or latest by 2027, when the president is going to go for his first term. But as we all know, we know a far cry from that. So one then wonders, why do they keep doing this and telling Nigerians this kind of narrative that never flies? For instance, they wonder if Professor Bathinaji is able to do this in Abia State, where almost, I don't know, I need to check if all the local governments have it now. Why is it that Nigeria doesn't seem to be able to achieve it at the federal level?
So, Chamberlain, you dealt with the core of the matter. How do we have one huge elephant, let's call the grid, when we can have a distributed structure? Now, the Act, the 2023 Act, actually is giving power to states to have what I will call islanding, meaning you can have your own generation, transmission, and distribution in your state, ring-fenced. Have you not wondered why state governors have not been able to? Okay, yes, a few of them, maybe 6, 7, I'm not sure, have been able to at least do their paperwork. But the practical implementation of enabling investment to begin to have a framework of a generation, transmission, distribution structure for that state, I can't see any of these things happening.
Why do you think that's happening?
So it's the concern, because the governors who have been enabled by law to begin to have what you call a distributed approach, so that we are not all relying on this one grid that is killing all of us. I was saying, look, do the things, you can attract investment, you can do what you need to do, so that we have some isolated cases that are working, like Badnaji. That's Geometrics, right?
Yeah.
Geometrics is working. And I recall the other day they celebrated no blink, no downtime for over, 2-3 months. I'm not sure what it is. But I'm saying, Tamlin, that it can work if we put a mind to it. How is a governor who has some energy mixes, why are you not able to sign some kind of agreement, bring investors to the state? We're not saying use your state's resources. Bring investment to the state and enable that structure. It will create social economic activities, boosts confidence in your state, bring more investors. Why are they not able to do this?
Some say some of the governors are greedy. They always want some cut in the entire deal. And if a businessman says, look, this is not viable, they just pack their bags and get off. They say, that's your loss. even several other sectors in the economy always have this problem when they have to do certain things. And so one wonders, look, when are we ever going to get to the bottom of this? And as a matter of fact now, Professor Naji told us on this same program that it takes 4 years. If any governor wants to do it, you can achieve what he's done in 4 years, even though they frustrated him, and his was about 20-something years. At the same federal level, where he served and then he eventually resigned. So it means that there are some vested interests at that federal level that don't want certain things to work.
We have to be clear in our minds as a people and as a nation that it's only when power works that every other thing will work. I mean, I'm not the president. I'm sure he's doing a whole lot, especially with all the military initiatives that they're putting in place. But I do know that if once power works, a whole lot of things will work. So I expect government to look at how to ensure that this power sector works. And it's shameful because we have what it takes to work. We have the gas is a driver for that success. And we have gas in abundance. The investment in gas is another matter. And being able to create policies that put the nation first. How do I come to Nigeria? I mine gas, sell it in the international market, make my money, and then I say, okay, I pay the taxes and all of that, but the nation is in darkness. How can't, for example, government say, for every gas, I said that earlier, that is mined by any gas producer in this country, you cannot forward contract all the gas and then we're in darkness. 20% of that gas can, by way of policy, to say, look, that gas must fire industries, gas to power engines within the country. It will make a huge change.
Ayo.
You've spoken significantly to what the states need to do and all of that. From where you sit, is it a problem of the costs for the governors? Or what exactly do you think is inhibiting? If the states individually cannot afford it, do you see an opportunity in regional ownership where the number of states in each region come together to own, just about the same way the federal government has had it over the years? After all, they have development commissions, each of them.
Very good question, Aya. Thank you for that. So, you see, it's when I engage a process that I'll be able to begin to see the challenges and then see whether we would need some structures that leverage by way of collaboration and all of that. But if I have not first engaged the process to say, how do I get this moving? There's been a lot of paperwork by governors, you know, oh yeah, they've signed the laws, their regulatory agencies are up, the electricity boards are up, and that's where most of them have left it. I have not seen the next steps very clearly with timelines so that they can now say, oh, we don't have the means, but we can collaborate with other states. And I agree with you, regional collaborations and all of those kind of things are things that can happen. And even engaging, because when you cross from your state in the new act and move to another state, then you must engage the federal NEC, because now you have left your own state, because now you must use national infrastructure, which is maybe, for example, the transmission grid, access and lines. All of those things can play out. But the most important thing is the will to know that what are the energy mixes in my state? What are the opportunities that I can bring? Where am I canvassing for funds and investment to drive this process? Am I doing enough as a governor? And if you ask me, I would say no. None has done, apart from the Abia model. A lot of them have just, been talking, and we are not seeing the next real actions with timelines that will be able to deliver on this.
Now, just one more question, because I know we're running out of time. You talked about the age of the current infrastructure and for which reason they are, collapsing here and again, time and again. How about the maintenance systems around these infrastructure? Because even if we are able to build new ones, and we don't have a structure of a maintenance system to ensure that, from time to time, whatever needs to be done is done, so that we don't have the kind of situation that we're having in our hands now, we're going to go back there. What happened, in your opinion, to the maintenance structures that ought to have maintained this equipment for this long? Because I don't think it is a problem of use, because there have been other infrastructure in other industries, even in engineering, that last decades. I mean, the first mainland bridge in Lagos, Kata and Eko Bridge, first and second mainland bridges in Lagos, they've been there for many, many years. All they do is maintain, even though that also takes quite some time. So this thing, I think it's the same for electricity, don't you think so? What is wrong with the maintenance systems that's not able to deliver on sustainability?
Again, thank you, Ayo. So it's a will for agencies of government to, especially, I mean, TCN has just been broken into two. So you've got NISO and you've got TCN themselves. Now, maintaining this infrastructure over the years had been the core responsibility of TCN. It means that at every point in time, they're able to see where the weak points are, the aging equipment, the sections that are failing, and then they're able to raise tenders, which they have done at some points. But question is, there's a lot of things begging for answers. The expectation would be, if the tender had gone and the tender has been very well scoped, then it's expected to deliver for that segment and get it done. But if there's no sincerity of purpose, if loads of things are, again, like Chamberlain said, not true to what it is by way of the operators of those agencies of government, then, and no one is calling these guys to account in terms of taking responsibility and accountability and ensuring that what you did had stood the test of time and is evaluated and it's working. If people are not held to account, then people would think it's always going to be this kind of opportunity to come, do a tender, and then it doesn't serve the purpose, and then there is nobody that's held to account. So you see this playing out. But if people are held and people pay for the things that had failed over time and you are the one responsible, then the next person would sit up. So I think largely you would say that corruption is also a bane of the sector. So it's something that needs to be addressed. And that's the core to the question you asked. Because if I've tendered for a job and I'm supposed to maintain it 100% and I maintain 10%, or maybe I don't have enough resources by way of release from government. So there's a government side of this as well, because there's sometimes, okay, so there is a budget and there's a release that does not adequately cover, so you do what you need to do, and then all kinds of things are enmeshed in it, and then of course you can give a story that is not tenable. But this is a challenge.
As we wind down, what can you tell us about that? Because the Minister of Power, I think he spoke about the discos giving consumers meters free of charge. Don't charge them, because he says this has been paid for, is funded program by, I think, the World Bank. But the discos in turn, from what we see everywhere, says, look, that's a political statement. That who's going to pay for it? Are we to bear the cost of installation? That the minister ought to have sat down with the discos and then work out how that is going to be, rather than just make that statement, because no, they rejected that plan and said the consumers will pay. What's going on?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. So I would break it down just a little bit. So there is the free meter themselves. So the meter there's what you call power sector recovery plan. Okay, in this, government says we will provide the meter to the disco. However, the cost, that meter is an asset in the disco books, so it has to be accounted for. And previously, and I think that still stands, that meter will be paid for over a 10-year period by way of tariff. So it's easy on the consumer that he's not feeling the bite on him to say, I drop X amount for the meter. Now, the minister is correct to the point that federal government is buying the meter and the meter will be deployed free. But the challenge is the minister did not look at the meter installer side of things. The meter installer is not the disco. It's a bunch of private guys who the discos engage, and for each meter, I think it's between 5 to 10,000 or 15, I'm not sure.
So for installation?
Yes, to install the meter.
People pay more than that, by all means.
No, so I'm saying this is what the rule.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Well, there's no supposed to, because it's private. So whatever they charge, but I think the discos working with the maps, meter asset providers, have been able to find a reading.
But there's supposed to be a threshold that you can't exceed. You can't just charge any amount.
It's between, what I know is between 5 and 10,000 there. Okay?
But we know that's never
okay, that is for the meter installer.
Okay.
Now, what the minister did not take into consideration is that the meter installer does not, he is a contractor to the discos, doesn't work for the discos. So the discos are asking, who will install? So the meters are in my warehouse, but the meter installer has to be enabled, right, to take the meter and hang it on the wall of the estimated customer, meaning the consumer. But if that is not taken care of, who pays for that? So, yes, the tariff would come and cater for the meter, the asset itself over a 10-year period. But who pays the MI for taking that role of installing the meter? So what I would have expected is that ab initio, from the DISREP program, provision would have been made for the meter installer so that the customer is made to pay nothing. But now it's run into some very confusing point where the discos are saying, who pays the MI? And the Honorable Minister rightfully says that the meter is free.
You know, listening to your explanation, I'm sure there are lots of people who will think, but these are very basic things. It doesn't even have to be, you don't have to be at a ministerial level to figure this out and know what to do. How was advising the minister? So is it that he couldn't do as little due diligence to ensure that these are the processes, this is what happened? Does it mean he's not even hands-on?
No, he's hands-on. I mean, the communication, like I said...
So why is it that he doesn't know that there's an aspect of this that needs to be figured out, taken care of?
Well, again...
This is a very minute aspect of this entire thing.
It's actually very minute. You know,
so but I can't even at the ministerial level...
That minute aspect can be some elephant in the room, because those meters can now stay in the warehouses of the discos for such a long time, because there's no MI, there's nobody who's paying the MI to enable the connection and ensuring that that meter works.
Even though we know that in many cases what you describe is not usually, that's the ideal thing, but that's not usually what happens. Some consumers, you'll be shocked, they'll tell you that these guys pay 50,000, some pay 100,000 for a meter, some pay...
No, is it for the meter or for the MI?
So that's where the issue is. These guys don't break it down for consumers of what these things really are. They tell you, pay for your meter. So people think, I'm paying for the meter, not even recognizing there's just an installation component of the whole thing. So they just lump everything and say, pay.
So, Chamberlain, let me say this so that you'll be clear. There have been various streams of meter provision. There is the MAP, which you know. There is the MAF, Meter Asset Fund, that's from NERC. There is the DISREP from World Bank, which is the one that we're talking about. Yeah. And there's also the PMI initiatives, which is onboarding soon. So the point is, all of this, right, I'm sure some people would learn. PMI has to now ensure, and I think they will, ensure that the MI is taken care of, because the MI is critical in this ecosystem, in ensuring that the meter hangs on the wall.
I'm almost tempted to say we'll call you back when we have another Greek collapse, but I'm not praying for that. I just...
We're all work in progress.
Sometimes, even when I say I hope it doesn't happen, you know that that's not the way to go. They have to do the right things to make their own luck. But if they don't do the right things, this kind of things will happen again.
The investments have to be right, and again, the political will to drive this process.
And the policies on the people have to be right for the investment to be right. Because you can't put something on nothing, on a faulty foundation. But well, thank you for coming on as always, to have you on Kingsley Odo as the GM. GMD and CEO of Plantrix Energy Group. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, well, back in a moment. We'll talk Osun politics. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're turning attention now to developments concerning the local governments in Osun State. What really is going on is what we're about to just have an understanding. We've got Mr. Oluremi Omowaye, who is the former Commissioner for Works and Transport in Osun State, Executive Director, Project Implementation, FHA. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today on the program, sir. But understand, we also do have Oluomo Kolapo Alimi, who served as the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs for Osun State. He joins us virtually. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for having me. I'm not the Commissioner. Thank you for having me. I'm not the Commissioner.
Okay, there's a loop, so we'll try and correct that. We'll sort that out before we come back to you. So, tell us, there's a lot of, this seems muddled a little bit in terms of what's really going on. Because when they heard the governor speak that the local governments are being occupied illegally by persons who, quote unquote, their tenure ended in October this year. And so they shouldn't be in office, as he said they were. They still are. What's your understanding of what's going on?
Well, thank you very much. It's not about what's my understanding. It's about what is actually the fact. There's a valid February 10, 2025 Court of Appeal judgment that allowed the appeal of the APC chairman and councillor that reinstated them into the office. Now, what the Osun government should have done was to appeal that Court of Appeal judgment by going to Supreme Court. But they did not do that. So instead, they went about parabolating and instituting a lot of various legal cases. And the governor keeps on saying all sorts of things. He had a broadcast a few days ago, and he claimed that their tenure had expired. And initially, what the governor said was, they are not even supposed to be there. Now he's saying their tenure has expired. If you looked at the speech of the governor, you saw a lot of contradiction. So apparently the governor is even confused. He does not know what is happening. But what is clear is there's a valid court judgment of February 10, the Supreme Court, at the Court of Appeal, that was not appealed by the Osun and the PDP Accord people. So we don't need to start going back and forth. What is important is, at the moment, in the eyes of the law, those in the council are the legal occupants of the council. That's simple.
When you say there's a lot of confusion in terms of what the governor has said, and then them being valid occupants of the law, when does their tenure elapse?
Now, let me just briefly run through what happened. These people conducted the election. They were supposed to start their tenure October 2022. The governor came in November 27, 2022, and sacked those people, inching on a federal high court judgment of November 25th, 2022. So as a law-abiding people, we left. Ordinarily, our chairman and council were supposed to be allowed to explore the option of going to Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, but the governor sacks them based on the 25th November 2022 Federal Court judgment. So our councillors and chairman approached the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal gave judgment February 10, 2025, allowing all the appeal, restating them back to the council. Now, the question is, when they were sworn in, they did not collect salary. They were not allowed to carry out any duty. The legislative arm, the councils were not inaugurated. So, our own councillors and chairmen have now approached the court to now determine when is our tenure supposed to start. Because it was February 10, 2025, that the Court of Appeal reinstated us.
Yeah, but...
So it's just like in the case of Rotimi Amechi and Celeste Omea. Celeste Omea was there for 9 months. Rotimi Amechi came to complete his term because they were in the same party. But in the case of Peter Obi and this other man in Anambra, they said because we were a different party. You know, when Peter Obi initially came in as governor of Anambra, they thought he was going to complete the tenure of Andy Uba. But the court now gave judgment that he's starting afresh. So we have also approached the court that for us, we feel since the day we came back was February 10. The tenure should start, the 3 years tenure should start from February 10.
Has the court said you should start when you're requesting to start?
No, we are in the court now. The court has not determined the suit.
But they are still occupying the office.
Yes, because they can't be vacuum. When you are in office and there are legal tussles, you wait till the court determines the suit. Because don't forget that they did not collect salary, they did not do anything after they were inaugurated. The governor just came and sacked them. The governor did not allow them to do anything. They did not collect salary. They were not the local legislative were not inaugurated.
Yeah, but
so it's simple.
So I mean, people watching some might think, well, even if the court reinstated them, the courts would have reinstated them based on the first election that continued. I mean, that brought them in the office in the first instance.
Yes.
Hence that appeal. But they also then say there's been another election, hasn't there, in the state?
If suddenly INEC wakes up tomorrow and they are conducting an election for the president of Nigeria, would that stand?
No, did INEC have any court judgments not to? Was there any legal?
No, there was validly elected.
No, the
election was conducted February 22nd, after the Court of Appeal had reinstated them. So there was no vacancy as at when the election was conducted.
Was there any law that INEC violated telling them you cannot conduct elections?
You're not getting the point. You're not getting the point. There was no vacuum as at the time the OCEC in Osun went to conduct election. So the election does not stand. The election was conducted February 22nd. The Court of Appeal,
have they challenged that in court?
Who?
The election that was conducted.
No, because it does not even stand, because there was no vacuum.
So that's
I'm telling you now, it's just like...
No, it's the same argument they have. That whatever these other guys who are occupying are doing doesn't stand. But you were saying...
The argument is different from what the law has said. The argument is different from what is clear in the Court of Appeal judgment.
No, but if there's a certain thing that had happened and you want it cancelled or prove that this doesn't exist in the eye of the law, isn't it the court of law that can decide that?
I just told you now that
concerning the election that INEC has conducted.
I just told you that not INEC, OCEC, not INEC.
Sorry, yeah,
I just told you now that the chairman of the councils and the councillor had approached the court to now say when is our tenure supposed to start.
I heard that. You didn't tell me they approached the court to challenge the election OCEC conducted. You didn't tell me that.
What I'm telling you is there's no even need for that because there was no vacuum as at when the election was conducted. There was no vacuum.
So right now they are in that occupying the seats. Okay, let's see if we could also bring in Mr. Olomo Alimi. I think do we have? Okay, I think we'll have him back. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I'm sure you must have heard what Mr. Moaye has said. What's your? Maybe you tell us what do you think is a fact as well of this matter?
Thank you. The story. Was to the pool of the.
Okay, well, we seem to have lost that. So, the situation right now, because if you say Now they are claiming we are the validly elected officials. The election has been conducted, which nobody challenged. And so that, from the eyes of the law, from their perspective, stands. But you're saying that, no, as far as that group is concerned, that election shouldn't have held in the first instance.
No, you're not getting this thing, sir. There was no vacuum. I just give an instance now. I am from, you are from, let's say, someone just wake up tomorrow
I hear what
and
you're
call
saying.
himself the governor of Lagos.
I hear what you're saying.
Are we going to agree because he woke up and he called himself governor of Lagos?
No. I hear what you're saying clearly.
Yeah.
This is a valid institution of elections that is set out. They carry out the processes to conduct an election.
Yes.
If you can't just sit back and say, well, whatever you're doing doesn't stand, and so I'm not going to do anything about it. What other people have done...
Let me also tell you...
let me respond. Yeah. What other people have done in this case, when they see this going in a certain trajectory, they go to court and tell them to stop that process legally so it doesn't degenerate into people taking laws into their hands. Yeah. That's what people expect to have been done.
Yes, we even have a legal suit around that, because even the chairman of the OCEC is a card-carrying member of PDP, so we have a legal suit on that. But why I'm not emphasizing on that is that is not too important, because as at when they went to carry out the jamboree, there was no vacuum in the council. It was clear. You see, you got a judgment, and the judgment says you brought appeal, and your appeal are allowed in full. Go back to council. What the Osun State government should have done is simple. Approach the Supreme Court. They did not. Instead of that, they were going round. As I speak to you, like they've gone to magistrate court for this case. So it tells you they are confused. They have over 10 cases on this. And most of these cases, they keep on withdrawing. Once they get to a level, they will withdraw. So what I'm saying is there's no need for us to be going back and forth. The law is clear, and we should follow what the law says.
I'm sorry, I think Ayo has questions for you. So Ayo, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Engineer Mawaya, I'm not sure you really understood what the question that Chamberlain was asking. We understand the point you're making about, no space, no vacuum, and all of those things. The question is, first of all, maybe I should ask it, is the chairman, are the local government chairman currently in office, according to you, are they aware that the local government elections held in Osun State? Can you hear me, Engineer Moy?
I need to take that again, because we lost a part of what you said.
Good. Are you aware, Engineer Moy, are the local government chairman in Osun State, were they aware when that election Chamberlain referenced was going to hold?
As far as I've told you, as far as we are concerned, there was no vacancy in the council.
The question is, are you aware, were the local government chairman aware that that election, which you say is invalid, was going to hold? Were you aware?
No, it was everywhere. They said they wanted to do jamboree, and the Attorney General of the Federation and the Commissioner and the Minister for Justice wrote an opinion and said, don't cause crisis. You should not have that election. It was everywhere.
Okay.
So, but because they just wanted to cause crisis and put us in this state and make people at the grassroots to suffer, they went ahead to conduct that election. And let me tell you this. The governor said something, and he said the federal government is holding his money. He's lying. One, the Supreme Court judgment has said the state, there's autonomy now. The state does not have authority over the local government any longer. So they cannot collect money on behalf of the local government. And as I speak to you, these funds have been paid to these various local governments as I speak to you, and some of the traditional rulers have been paid by this local government as I speak to you. So it's a blatant lie that the local government funds have been withheld by the federal government. It's a blatant lie. Instead, it is the Osun State government that is going around with various legal bottlenecks to stop the access of those funds that have been paid into a commercial bank.
That's the question. That's the next question that I was going to ask you. I apologize. That's the next question I was going to ask you. Now that we know that that fund has been released, and we may want to speak to that some other time. But when you say that the state government does not have authority over the local governments, again, I'm wondering what state, because the House of Assembly still has constitutional oversight on the local governments, don't they? So what's the relationship between them, the local government chairman, and the House of Assembly?
No. There's a July 2025 Supreme Court judgment that is clear of the local government autonomy. And you should also know that each of those local governments also have their own legislative houses. Now, if you are saying the State House of Assembly has an oversight on the local government, it must not be against what you have in the Constitution. For instance, the local government cannot wake up today and say the tenure of the House of Assembly cannot wake up and say the tenure of the local government chairman is going to be 4 years as against 3 years. This is a constitutional matter. So there is a legislative arm in each of those local governments. For instance, the local government chairman are taking budget to the legislative arm in their various local governments. So it is the local government that will pass the budget. It is the legislative arm comprised of the councillors that will pass the budget in various local governments. That is part of what the autonomy has now enhanced. The autonomy has now given powers to the local government councillors to now carry out some of the responsibility that ordinarily will have gone to the House of Assembly. Before now, some of the local government would take their budget to the House of Assembly. But with this autonomy now, the chairman will take their budget to the legislative arm of the various local government comprises of the councillor. That is part of what the local government autonomy had done. And one of the reasons why Mr. President did this is because he wants genuine development at the grassroots level.
I think we'll have to find time to, have a longer version so that let everybody come and explain, because both of you seem to be accusing each other of the same things. You said they were going around in circles, not going to court to challenge what has happened. They didn't appeal in Supreme Court. They are saying when OCEC conducted the elections, you didn't challenge it. And so on what authority are they continuing in office? And so
it's important we get this right.
It's
the
just,
governor came, he lied that the federal government is holding money. We have shown to the world that funds had been released. The governor made a speech and he was so confused. He said their tenure has elapsed. But it's the same speech he said they are not supposed to be there. So it's even confused.
No,
so what we are saying is, what they are saying is simple. There's a law. There's a court of appeal judgment. Nigeria is not a banana republic. There's a court of appeal judgment.
On which judgment are they continuing in office right now?
It's the February 10th court of appeal judgment.
Which says
they should come back to the office. At ab initio, the governor never had the power to sack you.
No, that judgment, when they came in, based on the elections that they were sacked in the first instance, supposed to have, that's what the government saying, it lapsed October 22. Yeah, but you're saying you've gone to court.
Because I just gave you an instance.
Say that
now, Aregbesola Oyinola. Let me give you Aregbesola Oyinola. Aregbesola started his judgment, his tenure from the day it was inaugurated back.
We'll find a way to revisit some of these matters because both of you are citing legal precedents to justify their cases.
No, they are not citing anyone.
No, they
are just conjoining precedent.
No, they have cited certain cases.
So, and I expect you to tell me which cases.
Which
in
is
the
why
governor's speech, most of the cases cited are not even relevant to what is on ground.
The same way they say yours is not relevant, so both of them are entitled to their opinions.
I'm telling you, this is
but
the law.
I have to thank you for coming on. You're not a lawyer, so you can't tell me that's what you think is the law. But thank you for coming on the same way. I appreciate you coming on this morning. So we will be back. Why do I keep thinking it's this Friday? Well, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Well, it's still correct. We will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, Business Morning is up next. I'm Aya Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day.